This morning I got up. It's 16 degrees. Still quite a bit of snow on the ground here. It's a great day to do one little project I've been waiting for a day like this to do. So in this freezing cold day, this is the project I wanted to do today. I want to do the front wheel first, of course, and maybe even get that one done today. Who knows what the way this day is going to play out. But I do like having the wheel stripes, and there's just one that we've painted when we painted the RD wheels. And I wanted to put a wheel stripe on this. It's just a little project I've been waiting for a cold, freezing cold day like this while Karen's baking cookies. I can be doing this. Now every time we do a set of wheels, I always think to myself, what a critical thing. The wheels change the whole look of the motorcycle. In this case, from when they were flat black to shiny black to silver, the whole look of the bike changes. And in the case of the bike I'm going to work on today, the 750, I have a set of spare wheels, and a lot of times I just think, you know, I'll change this set of wheels, put the black ones on, the green ones when I do a tire change. And in the case of the GS, you can see the stock wheels on a stock looking GS. Just painting the wheels gold, and when we did the wheels for Glenn's Ducati, it really changed the whole look of the bike. So let me get started. So step one, and we're trying to minimize the time that we're out here in the tundra, is to use our great little tool, our electric lift, to lift the front of the bike off the ground. It's a relatively simple thing to pull a wheel off of this, except you do need on these series of Ninjas, you need a special wrench to pull that side of the axle off. But still, it's not a real complicated thing to do. We're hoping we can get out of here in 15 minutes and have the wheel and a fresh cup of coffee down in the nice warm cellar where it's about 68 degrees instead of 16. And this is what I love about this. That just makes it so handy to work on the front of the motorcycle, or in this case, even if we were just going to clean a wheel, do any kind of maintenance. And that was about a $75 purchase from Harbor Freight. A great addition to the shop. Again, relatively easy to take this off. 2 bolts on each caliper, tie the calipers back, loosen the axle bolts on both sides, the pinch bolts, and then this nut has to come off and the axle slides out that side. But you do need that, and I don't have the wrench. What I do is I use an oversized one of the star wrenches. The biggest one fits in there, so otherwise you got to buy a special wrench. Now, whenever I'm taking anything apart, I always like this. I try to keep the bolts on the side of the motorcycle that these are coming right out once I broke them. But to have the bolts from this side, I keep them on this side of the motorcycle because we do have a spacer in there. That's number one. While I got this apart, I can clean inside by the fender, check the wear on the brake pads, and whenever I'm pulling that caliper back, I got to be very careful. I put a microfiber in there so if I just happen to touch the wheel, I don't put a big gouge in the wheel. This little tip might save you from, especially when it's freezing cold like this, just dropping that caliper and it lands up against the rim, and then you wind up, you have a gouge in the rim. The microfiber saves your bacon. Now, a couple of zip ties, just get that right up out of the way. I don't want that anywhere near the rim because, of course, because I'm going to work on the rim today, I don't want to have to fix or do any repair. Now, while I have it apart, of course, I can check the brake pad wear, which in this case These are sintered pads on this bike, and they look like they're wearing just fine. And this bike, believe it or not, has a really good set of brakes. I'm always looking at the other bikes and thinking, even though these are small diameter, the rotors are small diameter, the brakes are really nice on this bike. That's the same thing on this side, except we have to disconnect the speedometer drive, of course. And again, keep the parts that belong on this side of the bike on this side. Just makes it a little bit easier. This work is hard enough, I don't have to invent any new ways to make it difficult. Now, something you can do if you have a set of these T-wrenches. The biggest one just happens to fit. Now, the procedure I've used for doing this, I loosen this bolt, that lets this cap come off. Then you loosen the other side, and you can pull the axle out the other side, and then you can take the wheel right off. And once the wheel is off, and then normally I would be cleaning this out in the garage. Simple green, maybe some steam if it's really dirty, but I just can't wait to get inside and get out of the tundra here. It is just, it's brutal out here. And boy, if you only knew what a cup of coffee is going to taste like. I've been out here about, half an hour or so, but this is really the coldest day of the year so far. But we're all prepped up for reassembling this. Hopefully it'll be warmer when we do that. And they said the temperature is going up to 25 today. High of 25. Lucky me. I don't know if you live in a warm weather climate, if you ever know what that cup of coffee tastes like. Woo! Okay, step one, now we got it into the workshop where we can conveniently work on it. I want to clean it up. I always use the opportunity of having something apart to try to get in here and down in there, and I'll do my thing, and then first thing I'll do is I'll let it soak with some simple green. So step one, as we always do, let the simple green soak in, because we're going to be painting this, and it's a very delicate painting job. I want to get down inside here where I normally never could get, or I could not get conveniently. The longer this will soak, the room will come up to ambient temperature. I really can't tape the rim until it's, well, whatever the hell it is outside. It's really cold. I'm not sure. It was 16 on the weather channel, or inaccurate weather. But anyway, always simple green to start with. Get all the wax, grit, dead bugs, whatever. Now, one of the tools I've used over and over and over, in fact, I'm wearing this. I don't know that you can wear it out, but we've used it for house cleaning, cleaning wheels on cars, car engines, motorcycle engines, and it's another great tool. I always try to share the information and share the things that work well for me. It's a steam cleaner, and this particular one was about $100, and it really works well. Again, Harbor Freight. They should be paying me for these ads. So now with the simple green soaking in, this is a real simple operation. And the one thing is not to do is don't leave it in one spot too long, because the steam that comes out of here, of course, is 200 degrees plus. Makes me feel like I'm running a steam engine. Now, the thing I learned with the steamer a long time, or first time I even used it, the steam loosens grit. It doesn't, and blows some of it away, but you have to take a clean microfiber, and at the very end of steaming something, get it dry. Don't want to leave any moisture on it. Now, whenever I'm in the shop here, and this is just a funny story. I don't even know why I'm sharing this. I've had people over the shop, and basically some of the people have not ridden 50 plus years like I have, and they'll be looking at a tire like this. This is a very funny thing. That, by the way, is a Sport Demon, and they look and see, oh, you didn't wear the tire right to the edge. I had my R6 and I wore it right to the edge. Well, you know what? Older tires, if you look at them carefully, to wear this edge out, the bike you'd be on your ass, basically. So always keep in mind, if you're a new rider, older tires, the tires that are made to go on older bikes, you really can't wear them right to the edge, because the thing is over at the bike would be on its side, especially the rear tire. So on some of the tires, the older tires, I guess they didn't lean as much. They wanted to give you that extra thing. But then when you have a modern tire, especially like a Michelin, man, you can get it right to the edge without a problem at all. But these older tires, especially the ones on the GS, I'm not sure. I guess maybe some people can if they hang the bike by a string or something. But look at where the tread ends on the side of the tire. That's pretty funny. Now what I'll usually do is at some point in this job, while the paint is drying or while I'm waiting for something else, I'll run out while I still have steam in this, because you get about an hour of steam, and clean up under the fender and around the brake lines and all of the stuff that you normally can't get to. Super handy when you want to have a really, really nice clean bike to work on. But again, a lot of people think you do and you walk away. No, you've got to wipe it down, and of course we always have plenty of microfibers. And what comes off of there is usually pretty disgusting, and what stays is, especially on parts like this, you have brake dust and everything on them. It cleans in between the little dots and spots that you never could get to. It's just the handiest of tools. And there are a lot of people think like a job like this where you're painting a wheel stripe. Painting the wheel stripe is only a fraction of the job. The biggest part of the job is getting everything prepped up, masked off, and hopefully in warmer weather we'd be doing this a lot faster, but I'm kind of in slow motion here with the way things are going, but we're going to get one wheel done today. Else it's real handy. I've shown this a million times. An ordinary paint stick. You're not going to be able to get your hand down in there, and you know, actually the stick is even difficult getting down in there, but certainly better than nothing. I could just push the rag around there. And there's brake dust and grit and dead bugs from you know, a whole summer of riding. I think these wheels are now about a year old. And we did paint them on video. Okay, we try to do everything on video. The whole idea of it is to share information, share ideas. It's all free. Nobody's getting rich, and especially me. But it is very enjoyable to go work on a nice... I always think a motorcycle mechanic that works on new bikes, it isn't even fair. There's always some really stubborn areas down inside here. And I know most people would never even see this, but I see it. When I put this back on the bike, I would really like to have it just like the day I painted it, if possible. Now I'm really happy that wheel really did clean up nice. Simple green now. Now the last step, I'm going to put some prep oil on a paper towel and do where we're going to backmask it. I'm going to make sure it's perfectly dry, and then put some prep oil around that rim, because all of our backmasking is going to be on that rim, and we're going to airbrush this stripe on. We're not going to put it on. Yeah, of course you can just go buy that tape and then it goes around looking like a Dunkin' Donuts, but I like having the tape, and I like having the option of painting it any color I want, not just the color that they make the tape. And I've seen many designs with arrows and little things in them and double, triple thing, but I think the thing that looks the nicest and the most appropriate for this bike, just one thin stripe, I think is going to look real nice on there. Okay, now we've spent a lot of time trying to get this as clean as possible. Something we always try to do. This is prep oil. And where we're going to put the masking tape around the rim, I'm just going to go over this. This would get anything that's left on there, hopefully, off. Yeah, it's pretty clean. That steam cleaner really does take a lot of stuff off. But there's always something on there. Now the fun part. The fun part is to decide, first off, do we want to have a nice thick stripe, a 1/4 inch stripe. We have 16th inch, 1/4 inch. We have all these possibilities. But these are the things not to do. Here's number one. Don't try to use up an old roll of tape, which we have plenty of. If you're going to do this, be a big spender. Go out and get a brand new roll of tape. The reason is, this is going to be a focal point of the bike. You're going to see this as soon as you look at the bike. So, and it's going to define the wheels, which we've already put a lot of hours into cleaning and polishing and whatever. Who knows what. But this is going to add, I think, a little nice detail touch. So the first thing you want to do, start with a brand new roll of tape. Don't try to use up last year's tape, because this is going to be, all the edges are going to show on this. And it's going to be a defining feature. Just like all the work we put into the tank, all those stripes and multiple stripes. Well, believe me, how do I know? Because in the past I've tried to use up old tape and it comes back to bite you, believe me. So the first thing is, it's a brand new roll of tape. You got two things with this tape that are important. I'll use an old roll to demonstrate. If you start laying down tape and you start doing this, because it's a two-handed job, there's no way to put tape on with one hand that I know of anyway. And if you look at Chip Foose or Bitchin' Rides or any of them, the thing that happens is, the first time you do it, very intimidating. It wiggles all over the place. Second time, a little better. Third time. So if you have to, practice. Get to this point and lay the tape out 3 or 4 times, because you're going to see it. If it's like that, you're going to see it. Or if the stripe gets thicker and thinner, at least I see it anyway. But the one thing not to do is pull on the tape, because it's very easy. This is very delicate tape, and I have big greasy hands all the time. So what I'm suggesting is, clean your hands, soap and water. You want to have a tension on the tape, but not so much tension that the tape gets thinner and thinner like a rubber band. You don't want that. That's step one. Step two, this had better be prepped down perfectly, and a brand new razor to trim it. If you have a dull razor, it's going to leave a ragged edge. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my brand new roll of tape, brand new, and I'm going to lay out the edge of the stripe. Now, I want the edge of the stripe to be 1/8 of an inch off the edge of the rim. Now, when I used to do modeling and model planes, I would do this hundreds and hundreds of hours a year. So I would be able to watch TV and just lay out stripes and stars and everything. Well, that skill has kind of diminished because I don't do it that much. With motorcycles, you only do it a couple of times a year. Anyway, it's a two-handed thing. You lay one edge down, pick up your reference line. In this case, the reference line is the edge of the rim. I want to be that I can just see the edge of the rim as I go around here. And if you had a Lazy Susan, if your wife has a Lazy Susan, of course, maybe you could use that to your advantage. But you need a reference. You need something to hold your hand on. And I guarantee the first time you do this, if you've never done it before, very intimidating, and you think, oh, I'll never get it. Even if you go to put a tape stripe on a wheel, and I've had some friends, I won't mention any names, try to put a tape stripe on, and it looked like they legalized marijuana when they put it on. It literally looked pretty crooked, but anyway, all beside the point. The nice thing about the tape, and you can see what I'm doing here, you can just lift it up over and over and over again until you're happy with where it is. Now, what I want to show it up close, and I don't know if this macro lens is going to show this. What I'm doing here is I'm picking up this, I'm just letting the light shine on the edge of this as I lay out this edge of the tape. Then I'm going to lay the next stripe out in 1/8 inch tape, same tape, and then the third stripe. Using each one, the reference is the edge of the rim, then that references this edge, which will be a paint edge, then we'll have a piece of tape that's going to come out. Then the third piece of tape will go on and we'll pull the middle piece out, back mask it, and airbrush the stripe. So it should be, if it's our lucky day, it should be just a question of time. Now, needless to say, laying this out, the good news is, if you're not comfortable, not happy, you just do it over again. You can pull up the tape, and in this case, several times. I'd say if you pull it up more than 7 or 8 times, use a new piece of tape. You'd like to just keep a little tension on it. Now by airbrushing this instead of laying a tape out, of course one of the things you could do is just put a piece of tape on here. But you know, that to me, just something about it I don't like. Is paint is always like a permanent thing. And this can, you see I'm going back. Anytime I see I don't have it exactly the way I want it. And as I go around the rim, it's just going to be a question of time. And I'm turning this as I go, little by little, until I get that whole first stripe laid out. Okay, so we have the whole first stripe laid out and referenced off the edge of that rim. Now the next thing will be to lay this piece of tape butted up against there. This is going to be the piece that gets removed. And again, same tape. We're going to use 3 layers, three stripes, again, and just pull out the middle one. Now, I never try to get the last little bit of tape in place. Here's what I do. Lay this piece out, and from years of doing model planes and using hundreds of rolls of tape, you get so good at it at some point in time. I can imagine that Chip Fuso, one of these guys that does this every day, you could do it in your sleep. But again, I have to concentrate here a little bit because I only do this a couple of times a year that I call this detailing, to tape detailing. Now what I'm trying to do is get it to butt right up against it so I don't see any green and I don't see any overlap of the tape. I don't want to see where, and you can see it. In fact, maybe I'll do a spot here, or the first time I get one, I'll try to show it on camera that you can see what the error looks like. Again, this is a hand-eye skill, like going to track days, or like riding a motorcycle fast, or like anything. Tennis, golf, boxing. Everything is a hand-eye coordinated thing. And you do get better at doing it the more you do it. And not that it would matter, but it goes faster and faster. Now, I did at one time, I used to time, when I do a model airplane, I'd always do the bottom first. And that would, let's say it was 20 hours of masking, back masking and everything. Well, the top then would be 15 hours. It would be a lot quicker, the same exact thing. And that's how it works with a lot of things in life. Anyway, rather than let the camera run, I guess I'm so good I can't make a mistake. Anyway, this does look pretty good. And now we got the two layers, 2 thicknesses down, and that edge is just butted, no green showing, and no overlap. Now all that's left is the 3rd stripe, and again, I don't even worry about that last inch. Once I get it to where I'm happy with it, I can just cut the tail of it off. Once the 3rd one's on, hey, I'm thinking we're in the driver's seat here. Anyway, I think you get the picture. We have 3 total stripes, and then we'll be ready to pull that middle one out. Now with the 3 layers down, it's just a question of carefully pulling up the piece that actually will expose the area that we're going to put paint on. And you get a little bit of a look at how this is going to look. Now it's just a question, I'll repeat everything I did so far on the other side of the wheel. And once we pull this piece off, we'll be ready for the back masking. And this is the best way I know to do this kind of a stripe. It should be very accurate. Well, it's going to be as accurate as you put the tape down, but it gives you a lot of choices. This gives you every choice possible. You can make it thicker, thinner, 2 stripes, multiple to endless amounts of possibilities here. And I think this is going to add, when we get the both wheels done and we're finished with this part of the project, it's going to add a really nice detailed touch to this motorcycle.
I just wanted to put the part number for the blue tape that we use to do this job. It's 3M tape. You can buy it in any body shop supply or online. PN 06404.
And no matter how you back mask it, in this case I'm just going to run some blue tape, maybe 2 layers up here. If a little gets on the tire, I can wipe it off with thinner. But I don't want any getting on the wheel, so I'm being kind of fussy putting these paper towels here. But with an airbrush, it's only going to put the spray out to about there. So if we were spraying this with a spray gun, have to back mask the whole thing. Now, one final thing, we took a little bit of 1000 grit paper, and all I want to do is just take a piece of this. Don't even need to wet it. Just gently scuff this little area. Don't have to do any sanding, that's for sure. Just scuff it. It'll help the paint stick just a little bit better. And once I do the other side of the rim, we'll be ready to airbrush. And I'll wipe that one final time with prep ball, and that will be ready. Now, of course, having a wheel balancer is what makes this job a whole lot easier than if we didn't have the wheel balancer. So, again, thank you, Pokey, who donated this to our cause, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Now, for this job, we're going to be using the Iwata airbrush that we've used for many, many jobs. This has been around for about 15 years, and it's served us well. Now, luckily, we had the touch-up paint for this bike. We had just enough. I think we'll have enough to do even another set of wheels if we decide to. Now, what's best to do on these parts, 3 coats, about 15-20 minutes apart. Definitely don't want to get a run in this, so we'll put it on thin coats. That airbrush works great. All right, the 3 coats are on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this out in the garage to dry for a couple hours. The reason is we have Miles and his friends coming over to do some cookie decorating, and I don't want the smell in the house while they're here. As soon as they leave, I'll pull it back down into the cellar and let it dry overnight. Now everything is dried up here. I've had a nice cup of coffee. I'm warmed up, not that much, believe me. And I'm ready. I want to mix up a small batch, and using the airbrush, just get 1 coat of clear on this, just to give it a little protection. This coat of clear, this should be, only need to get 1 coat on just to, and we'll put this aside to dry overnight. I think this, once this dries overnight, that's going to really add a nice touch to the bike. It'll just be nice to see how this is all drying up, and I think that is really going to be nice. Now I have some other work I want to do on the wheel, and this is all I'm going to be able to do today because the kids are coming over. But I have some other things to do to the wheel, so that'll be on part 2 of this video. And for right now, Got an amazing amount done for a day. It was really cold here. I'll get out the steamer, steam all that area down there, clean that all up. Let this dry overnight. Or at least when the kids leave, I'll put it down by the heating vent.
Excited for that?
I think I'm like super excited. I'm like,
You had to get reserved tickets for that, right?
It's great.
Great. I heard a lot of people.
Star Wars.
Oh, look at that.
Come on, baby.
I know I'll cry. Even if
You
other
can
people
hold
didn't
it.
cry, I'll cry.
I feel like that's all, but I'm like wondering, like,
There you go.
You're going too, right, Michelle?
yes, I
We're all
am.
going.
Okay, time to do the ingredients.
Can't be too wet. This
Yeah,
one
that
you can
one's
put
too
stuff
mushy.
On.
This looks beautiful.
This one can get stuff on it. Miles, you want to put something with red?
Would you like to
or
put
something
some,
with other colors.
lights on it?
Wow, these look pretty good.
Put a little more, babe.
These look pretty good.
Come here. Hugs first. Hugs first. Hugs first. Hugs. I need a hug. I need a big hug.
You need to decorate your lightsabers,
Give me a big
Peter
hug.
and Moo.
Give me a big hug. Oh, I love
I did.
How are these cookies coming out here, kids? Don't fall down.
Well, yeah, because Mookie was wearing them, so let's switch one really quick. Because,
You got enough ingredients here?
I think he wanted them.
Okay.
No.
I like it very festive.
Oh.
Yes, that's what I said. I had the red one, I was like, switch it on.
Are you having free samples?
Michelle?
Thank you so
I
much.
just had one.
So I had it on Monday.
I saw that.
And then I got it